And away we go. Better late than never. I'll explain in a moment. I am way behind schedule as we usually do this at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. And that, of course, is Coffee Talk on YouTube or at Coffee Talk Live, as well as Prepper University on YouTube and Coffee Talk Chat on X, formerly known as Twitter. And then, of course, there is always fistfulofradio.com podcasting out of Atlanta at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which it almost is. And Friday at noon. Oh, no, the Friday would have already gone up then. So this will be match up with 4 o'clock on Monday then as we dive in here. Hope, sorry to leave everybody hanging. I see Urban Angst left a post there that says, did I forget and does it cycle every 15 minutes? No, that's not what's happening. And somebody there, here is it, Armored Ghost said he's too Gen X to forget. Yeah, that about sums it up. I didn't forget anything. I just had to keep rolling it back, unfortunately, because there was a problem with the alarm company and they were out here and I had to be there. I had to be there for it, so I couldn't do this. And they were supposed to be done by like noon because they got here at 8:45. They were supposed to be done at noon. They just left. Literally 3:41. 3:41. I'm like, okay, good. So here we go. And I don't know if the people that chimed in are still the people that are here. So, because a bunch of people said hello. And I can try to catch a couple of them. I see Boogers is here, All People is here, Semper Fi, Gary Edwards is here, and I don't know if any of the other people that were here are still here. KZ says, why does it keep getting pushed back? It keeps getting pushed back because I keep having to change it, and they keep saying to me, I'm almost done, and almost done turns into another hour and another hour and another hour. And there you go. I see Anarchy is here, Helter Skelter is here, Dragon is here. And yeah, indeed, Armored Ghost said, let's go. Indeed. No kidding. No kidding. Dusty still sleeping in the chair. There she is. Yes, Spectre, I am late today, as I was just explaining. And David Jones is here. He says, prepare hard now. No kidding. Get ready for it, folks. I've heard rumors, can't prove anything, heard rumors that there might be a banking holiday. A banking holiday. And what that means is that the borrowing and lending through the Federal Reserve is so screwed up that they might stop bank transactions for anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks, which means no banks for 1 to 3 weeks. And they want you to go all crypto. Yeah, that'll work. I see Velvet Pilot is here. He says, never mind. What happened to the time? He said. And again, yeah, I had to sit with the alarm company. And while they tinkered around with everything and made adjustments and fixed things, and it just kept getting pushed back. Like I was explaining earlier, they were supposed to be done at about noon, and it didn't quite work out that way. It didn't. Noon turned into 3:41 p.m. But here I am, keeping my obligation, albeit late, as we get ready to see what is going on in the world here today. And picking up where we left off yesterday, because we were starting to talk about a new vaccine that is in vitro. So you, whereas every other vaccination, they tell you if you're pregnant or nursing, don't take a vaccination. With this vaccine, they want you to take it while you're pregnant, and it's not for you. This vaccination is for your unborn child. It finds its way through your body and gets into them and vaccinates them before they're born. Yeah, that sounds like something really, really trustworthy that'll work just fine. And when we were talking about that, I was curious about how many vaccinations our kids are forced to take nowadays. And somebody thought it was like around 28 or 30. And I pulled up the CDC's website, and there it is. And they have their list of recommendations, and I counted them off, and there's about 40 aged 0 to 18 years of age. But that's not even accurate, because as I looked through this again, and which is why I wanted to pull it back up again, several of these are multi-doses. For example, not only are they multi-doses, but you have to take them more than once. Like here is a diphtheria. This diphtheria, tetanus, and arcellular pertussis are 3 shots in one. So that counts as 3. And you're supposed to take 4 doses by the time you're 15 months old. So that is actually 12 shots. 12 right there, just that one line, because you're supposed to do it. And this Haemophilus influenzae type B, the Hib shot, is also a minimum of 3, because it says 3 or 4, third or fourth dose, so it's 4 doses. Pneumococcal conjugate is 4 doses by the time you're 15. You see the point. So rather than it being actually 40 shots by the time you're 18 years old, when you add up the doses and you add up the ones that are multi-shots, you're looking at more like 70 shots by the time you're 18 years old. But again, I'll point out to you, I've had like almost nothing, growing up in my generation. I had like 5, and they were all finished by like 1971 or 1972. And I don't catch any of this stuff. I don't get sick like that. And you find that I found, personally speaking, that people, the fewer inoculations they've had, the better off they are in the long run. I see Brian. Yeah, here I am. And Armand says, choose 12 shots of espresso over 12 shots from Big Pharma. No kidding. And Third Monkey made it. Glad you could join us here today, Third Monkey. Running a bit late today. Running a bit late. But this list, and then you see also the C virus shot is on here now. And it says 1 or more doses starting at 6 months. Like I'm fit to give a 6-month-old baby this shot. Aren't you done experimenting on us yet with all the strokes and heart attacks that people have been having? This hepatitis A, 2 doses. You get the idea. This is diphtheria, tetanus, and arcellular pertussis expands because now you have a 4th and 5th dose down on this page. It's an insane number of shots going from birth to 18 years of age. And now they want to start giving you the shots before the baby's even born, which is what we were talking about yesterday with that one shot, the first inoculation that is authorized to give to a pregnant woman for her unborn child. Scary stuff. I swear they're trying to kill us all. And Anarchy says, I got all the shots when I was in the Army back in the 80s. Yeah, I'm sure it helped. And I see Sean is here. Glad you could join us, as well as Legends. Again, running late today. Had some unforeseen circumstances as I was waiting around for, and the majority of the trouble that they were having, of course, is all technical issues, getting things to connect with each other, changing out units because they don't work new out of the box, tearing the shrink wrap off for the first time. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so is this. I can't imagine. I'm suspicious of the 5 shots that I had growing up. And you want me to do all this? And you want me to go into Walgreens once a year to get a flu shot? Seriously? I'm supposed to trust this. I'm supposed to trust this. I mean, I can't tell you what to do, but if you've got kids, I would be careful. That's all I got to say. I would be really careful with this because that is scary. That is really scary. And Anarchy says only a fool would allow such a thing to their unborn. Yeah. I mean, and how do you test that? How do you know that works? But we showed that yesterday. We talked about it. And like I said, I wanted to follow up because that's just scary. That's just scary. I didn't know it had ballooned this out of control where these young kids that are coming up now are getting this many shots, are taking this many injections from people that are indoctrinated into the system. Pill pushers, shot pushers, these modern pediatricians. I don't know if you can trust them. As I talked about yesterday, I knew some old school pediatricians when I still lived in Boston. I knew one in Kansas too, and they were much older. They were both female. Most pediatricians are, in my experience, another female dominated profession. But these two women were like in their 60s and had a similar conversation with both, one in Boston, one in Kansas. Watch out for these young pediatricians. Watch out for them coming from these universities, these new kids with these medical degrees. They can't be trusted. That's a scary thing to hear a doctor telling you that their peers cannot be trusted. Armin says, remember that time in elementary school when everyone around you had 70 shots? Me neither. Yeah, no kidding. And guess what? They're all still alive, too. ARN says China just made it illegal for citizens to take photos of anything military, up to 7 years in prison. Wow, that sounds very Cold War Eastern Bloc. As a matter of fact, there was a movie about it starring Jackie Gleason as a tourist in an Eastern Bloc country. I think they made the country up for the sake of the film. And this was a 60s movie who got him and his family had to flee to the American embassy and hide out there because he was taking photos, and some of the photos he took weren't authorized, but he was a baker and he thought they were interesting designs to experiment with a cake, which he was telling the truth, but they didn't believe him. They thought he was a spy, him and his family. Sean says they don't get the flu shot. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. They don't work anyway. Everybody I've ever spoken to who got the flu shot, all it did was make them sick. They said, I took the shot, but then I got the flu anyway. But yeah, well, this is what, your 10th time in a row, and it still hasn't sunk in that, gee, this isn't quite working for you, is it? You think you would want to stop doing that. And of course, I know I'm mostly preaching to the choir. The people that are watching on Coffee Talk or Prepper University probably shy away from such things, but you never know when the random person might happen by. And maybe I'll just make them think about it a little bit. I'm not telling you what to do, but please think, use your brain. Use your brain for something else besides celebrity gossip and pornography. God help us. I'm surprised we've lasted as long as we have. As we shift around here and we talk about corruption in government. Corruption in government, God help us. Say it isn't so. Say it isn't so. And ARN says Ukraine is fitting women for body armor. Yeah, they'll put them on the battlefield next. They're already drafting people in their 30s and 40s. And this is from Gistfest. Gistfest, or is it supposed to be Gistfest? Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas to face lawsuit for tax fraud and ethics violations. Oh no. You mean someone on the Supreme Court can't be trusted? Has anyone heard this story yet? Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas avoided public outrage for years by not disclosing billionaire gifts. a move that violated long-standing ethics laws. New information about why he received gifts raises questions. Legal experts suggest Justice Clarence Thomas may have avoided tax laws on such donations. Recent reporting from ProPublica unveiled that Thomas received luxury gifts from wealthy benefactors. Where's my wealthy gifts from, where's my luxury gifts from wealthy benefactors? I don't get wealthy. Well, I'm not really into luxury items anyways. I don't have like a big fancy watch or anything. These included vacations. Wow. These included vacations, private flights, school tuition, and even a loan for a high-end RV. Thomas has insisted that the gifts were innocent gestures from friends. However, many of these gifts were received after he threatened to resign over the justice's low salaries. Oh, is that what it is? One of Thomas's vacation companions mentioned that the money was given to supplement the justice's, quote, limited salary, according to experts. If these benefits were intended to supplement Thomas's regular pay and retain him on the court, they might be viewed as a taxable transaction instead of a gift. How much do they get paid? Hold on. I want to look that up. How much does a Supreme Court justice make? And I'm going to share that screen with you because I want you to see it. Let me open that up. Roughly $300,000 a year. I think I could be pretty comfortable with $300,000 a year. How about you? If I don't get something, I'm going to quit my damn job because $277,700 per year ain't enough. Oh, here you go, Mr. Thomas. Here's a vacation to calm you down. Here, we'll pay your kids' school tuition. Here, we'll buy you an RV. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Let me catch up a couple of comments here. Brian says, not only do the people who get the shot still stick with the ailment, but they get lethargic from the shot itself, a normal side effect. Yeah. And Armand says the only way to report government corruption is to a corrupt government agency. And Armand, that's really the biggest part of the problem, is that the people that you would complain to are the people that are causing the issues. That's why everybody always says, that's why we need term limits in Congress. And who votes for the term limits? Good luck with that. Bingo says, what's up? I'm late. I'm here now. Well, as I was stating earlier, I had to stick around to babysit workmen from the security company that were fixing a problem out here. And they were supposed to be done by noon, and noon turned into 3:41 p.m. as they continued to have technical difficulty. Dragon says this happened over 20 years ago when he complained about his $174,000 a year salary, and apparently even then that wasn't enough for them to live on. Greedy and corrupt. 174, I'll take it. I'll take 74. I mean, holy crap. These people, what kind of lifestyles are you leading? I think most people here would be very comfortable with a salary like that. Helder says justices are paid very well and always have been. If they can't make ends meet, they either don't have the smarts they need to serve or just don't belong there because money is their goal. Of course, money is their goal. Money and power and prestige. I'm a Supreme Court justice, and you can't get rid of me. I've got to die or retire. You can't get rid of me. No term limits there either. Brian says, even if it were innocent gifts, shouldn't you refuse the gift for the sake of the people's trust? Yeah, and there's a difference between, an innocent gift and we're paying for you and your family's vacation. We're buying you a car, a camper. We're paying for your kids' tuitions in school or some of the other things they named there. That's amazing. What was the other thing? Vacations, private flights, school tuition, and a loan for a high-end RV. Unreal. And Brian says maybe they'd go for term limits if you say you'll grandfather the current people in without term limits. And Arvid says, to be fair, it does take money to attract better talent. Yeah, but he signed on knowing what he was getting. They said, hey, this is how much a judge gets paid. And he said, okay, no problem. Then he starts complaining about it. Well, now he's in trouble. Now he's under investigation. And I wonder if that means that he'll be thrown out. I wonder if that means he'll be thrown out of his position, or if he could be thrown out of his position. But yeah, I know sometimes you've got to pay to get the good talent. Let me see here. It says, if there are, in fact, people saying more or less, we're offering these goodies to the justice so that he will stay in his role, it sounds like it would be taxable income for him, said Brian Gale, a law professor at the Georgetown University Law Center who focuses on taxation. Much of the public outcry over Thomas's long history of undisclosed gifts has centered on whether the activities violate federal ethics laws. Lawmakers have focused on a specific donation, a $267,000 loan Thomas used to buy an RV. They argue, wow, anybody want to loan me $267,000? I didn't think so. They argue if part of that loan was forgiven, Thomas would be required to pay taxes on that amount. Oh, God. He declared that the luxurious trips that they funded were merely vacations, stating, as friends do, we have joined them on a number of family trips during the more than quarter century we have known them. If the purpose of these billionaires' generosity was to retain the conservative judge on the highest court, it raises questions. According to the Supreme Court, such donations might fall outside the definition of tax-free gifts, which must arise from detached and disinterested generosity. You would think, even as an issue of personal ethics, dude, I can't let you, and why does he even need a loan that big? I can't let you lend me $267,000 and then forgive it because I'm a Supreme Court justice and that might look bad. Never occurred to him. Never occurred to him that might be embarrassing if it ever came out. Oh my God. Never occurred to him that to sit there and say, well, that's really nice of you to offer to pay for my kids' school tuitions, but I'm a Supreme Court justice, and if that ever came out, that might be embarrassing. Never occurred to him. Went right over his head. Yeah, and he's making the decisions for you. Remember, forget the office of the president, forget the executive branch, forget the legislative branch. The Supreme Court really makes all the decisions. If 5 out of 9 of them say something is a law, it is. Think about that. And I see Cyberjack Sr. has joined us. And Micah says, I like the information you find and would like to hear it similar to news. Would you consider making a condensed video like a highlight of your daily talk? I think it could catch on. I don't know. I don't know how that would work. I'd have to see one. And Merv says, if he's corrupt, let's find out. Of course he's corrupt. Of course, I believe so. I believe there's some corruption in there. There's some dirty laundry, but is anything going to be done about it? I appreciate the sentiment, though, Micah, and that's something to consider. Just trying to reach out to people, share some opinions. And speaking of corruption, let's jump to New York. We'll jump from Washington, D.C. to New York and talk about Mayor Adams really quickly. New York Post says Mayor Adams needs to reassess pricey special assistance while the city is cash strapped. Because as you know, because of the migrant crisis, the proposed migrant crisis, the migrant industrial complex, if you will, because it is a billion-dollar operation, absolutely. That Mayor Adams is laying off police, laying off firefighters, laying off sewage workers and EMTs, and cutting programs and cutting money from the schools, which is no big deal there because they're not learning anything anyways. Chopping everything up, but he won't get rid of his personal assistants, his quote special assistants as they call them here. And that doesn't sound like a big deal until you hear how many of them there are and what they're getting paid. So here we go. How many special assistants does one mayor need? Mayor Adams has 293 of them on the city's payroll in his first fiscal year in office, up 20% over the already bloated number under Mayor Bill de Blasio. These, quote, assistants aren't subject to regular civil service rules and answer only to the mayor. Yes, Adams has done a decent job of keeping the city's overall employee headcount down. As of October 2023, it was about 305,000, a drop of 22,000 employees from 2019. And the Citizens Budget Commission reports he's cut the number of budgeted positions by nearly 10,000 people. So he's laid off 32,000 people since he's been in office from city jobs. But that doesn't make, and plus he's going to be laying off more because of the so-called migrant crisis while he begs for money from the federal government, your tax money. But that doesn't make the special explosion okay. This cadre costs the taxpayers $24.3 million a year, with 85 of the assistants making six figures and 13 of them making more than $200,000 a year. Notably, as under de Blasio, several of the, quote, specials are political operatives linked to the mayor's campaign, suggesting this is less about making city government function and more about getting paychecks to them between elections, saving campaign funds at the public's expense. This when core city services, including the New York Police Department, are suffering cuts. And one special assistant raking in more than $200,000 is Edward Mermelstein, an Adams donor. If the rest of city government must be slashed, Mr. Mayor, you'd be wise to set an example by getting rid of a good chunk of your own insider hires. Surely you can make do with fewer personal operatives than Bill de Blasio did. That is very telling, which is why I wanted to read that. Brian says you consider your condensed new video could be you giving the top 10 notable news items plus one extra, call it number 11. Yeah, that's like my top 10 list from Prepper University. If anybody watches it, look what's happened to Prepper University. That channel has been absolutely crushed by ScrewTube. 66,000 subscribers. I can't get 500 views on a video anymore. Dragon says actual city workers are struggling with understaffed departments, but there's always room for one of Adam's friends in upper management that everyone need to drop everything for to scrape and bow to. Yeah. And Merv says the bureaucratic coup d'etat of America continues. And then Helter said, not surprised. Many politicians create BS jobs for people that help them get elected. Most of these jobs consist of doing nothing for a huge salary. Yeah. So he's got nearly 300,000 people. Wow, that's way off. 300 people, excuse me. 300 people earning over 100,000 a year. So what was it? 296? Was that right? Or 293. So nearly 300 people on his personal payroll as a special agent to, or a special assistant to the mayor, who God knows what their job is, making a minimum of around 100,000 a year. And they're not subject to any of the typical civil discourse of the city or state. So you know what their job is or what they do, and they don't answer to anybody but Mayor Adams. And that's everything you need to know about city government, ladies and gentlemen. That's everything you need to know right there. Nepotism, anyone? On a grand scale, your tax dollars at work. Your tax dollars at work, ladies and gentlemen. That's how it gets spent. That's how it gets handled. That's what they do with your money. Jobs for my friends and family. While I'm laying off everyone else, while I've laid off 32,000 state or city employees, 32,000 jobs he cut from the city, and more scheduled because, oh, the migrants, they're overwhelming the city. But you got plenty of jobs. How many assistants do you need? I mean, I get it. New York is a major hub. Being the mayor of New York is, you may as well be the governor of the state of New York if you're the mayor of New York City. How many assistants do you really need? I bet you don't need 293. And they thought de Blasio had too many, and he has 20% more than de Blasio did. That means that he has roughly, 85, 90 more employees than de Blasio, just off the top of my head without actually crunching the numbers. That's, oh my God. That's, oh no, that's way too much, right? So no, that's about 60 more, roughly 60 more than de Blasio did. Why does he need them for? I doubt that he does. I doubt he really needs those people. Now, this is more of a local story here. This is more of a local story, and this is Augusta, WRDW, which is a television studio, and this is their webpage. And it's something that's going on in Georgia that Georgia lawmakers even weren't aware of. And the reason I'm sharing it is because Georgia's not the only state doing this. Okay. And it says, here's what Georgia is doing with your driver's license. Atlanta, Georgia, going to the Georgia Department of Motor Vehicles and getting your picture taken is expected, but the agency is also keeping that photo in a facial recognition system. According to the Georgia Department of Driver Services, it does so to help law enforcement in cases of specific violent crimes. However, some state lawmakers were unsettled after an Atlanta News First investigation uncovered the process. State Representatives Brad Thomas and Brian Prince were not aware of the process. Both lawmakers sit on the House Technology and Infrastructure Innovation Committee. There's another mouthful, which, according to its mission statement, works on issues involving new and emerging technologies and their implications for Georgia's economy. It's something we need to look into, and it's something we need to take very seriously, Thomas said, adding some protections are needed. We, as a government, have to do a better job, or have to do a good job, making sure citizens know. So do you have to do a better job, or do you have to do a good job? Which is it? Which do you need to do? How about both? When submitting an ID application to the DDS, the use of the technology is not explicitly disclosed to the applicant, except for the general acknowledgement section the applicant is required to check off. And hidden in that, it says, under penalty of law, I swear or affirm that I am a resident of the state of Georgia and that the information provided on this form is true and correct. I grant permission to the Department of Driver Services to verify information furnished to the department through the release of any and all applicant information to third parties, which shall include, but not limited to, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security or other public or private entities. Since 2008, the DDS has awarded contracts to private facial recognition companies, according to documents that have been obtained by the Atlanta News First investigators. You don't know when they're using this data, how they're using the data, or in what form they are using the data, said Ramna Sulalpa, if I pronounce that correctly, an associate dean at Emory University who studies artificial intelligence and its impact on privacy, and who raises concerns about the unintended consequences. For example, on October 7th, 2015, Marquis Stevens was shot and killed during a botched armed robbery attempt in southwest Atlanta. At the time, police did not have a suspect's name, but a witness provided an Instagram photo of a possible suspect. Atlanta police detectives sent the image into the DDS, which ran a facial recognition search using the state's database of driver license photos. Case files showed 25 photos delivered back as possible matches. Among the returned photos, Kevin Reeves would later be one of 2 men convicted in Stevens' murder. However, images were released of more than a dozen other men who had nothing to do with the crime, and police were able to use any of those images to potentially build a suspect lineup. Kay Levine, a former prosecutor who is now an Emory Law School professor, said many Georgia residents have likely been in photo lineups based on that process. And I bet you many people were harassed under that process because, you know, detectives, they get their hooks in you and they'll burn you until they stumble over the truth, which they will stumble over if they find it at all, because they're not looking for it once they think it's you, whether you did anything or not. Helter says this is pretty clearly a Fourth Amendment violation. This is about suppression of rights, not upholding them. But yeah, and we've talked about it before. Most, if not all, states at this point automatically register you, do a voter registration when you get your driver's license without your knowledge or consent. They just do it. And I guess they assume you know. And if you want to be taken off, there's a lot of hoops to jump through. My wife wanted to be taken off the voter registration notification, quite frankly, because she was sick and tired of all the flyers that we get. Hundreds of them during any election. I've shown them on here before and fussed about it and got in trouble with ScrewTube for it too, as misinformation. And I'm like, I'm holding like 50 pieces of damn mail from Raphael Warnock and you're telling me I'm lying. Okay. But anyways, back to the point. She wanted to be taken off. She struggled with that for months and is still on the registry because the hoops that you have to jump through to be pulled off once you're on there, they make it damn near impossible. So she's still on the voter registration. So apparently also they store your photo for a database that's shared with a private company that they're contracted with, who share it with law enforcement without your knowledge or consent. And that's the way government works. And this is happening in a lot of states, not just Georgia. It's been happening in Georgia for a while. Nobody knew. And this news agency did some actual journalism. The Augusta WRDM here did some actual journalism and discovered it and exposed it. Atlanta News First here, Atlanta News First investigators. And even county lawmakers weren't aware of it. But you're not being spied on. No. You're not being spied on. You can trust all of this technology, really. Dragon says, when China announced this tech, people on every side in America exploded in anger on behalf of the Chinese. Now that it's happening here, they've forgotten all that outrage and are bending backwards. Or they don't even know it's happening. And then when it is revealed, it's on a local news station, which is where I found this. Local news station. That's where you can find that information. Unfortunately, that's the way the world works. Meanwhile, any other stupid thing, and people will absolutely flip out. Will flip out over. Everybody's always fighting the wrong battles. As we shift around here, some stupid news for you. Some stupid news for you. You'll get a kick out of this. And this is about Walmart, everybody's favorite store. This is a good example of what you were just talking about there, Dragon, or what we were discussing in a manner of speaking. Anyone I ask, do you like Walmart? They hate it. I hate Walmart. I hate going there. I don't like shopping there. I don't like this. I don't like that. But they still shop there. They still shop there. What are you going to do? Although, to be fair, in some cases, Walmart squeezed out local businesses so much, you don't have much of a choice. This is from NBC News. Tiny magnetic balls sold by Walmart recalled. Regulators cite 7 dead and thousands hospitalized. Oh, no. Say it isn't so. The U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission on Thursday recalled small but powerful magnetic balls used as building blocks and stress relievers, citing thousands of hospitalizations and at least 7 deaths due to similar products. The Relax magnetic balls are sold exclusively online at Walmart in a set of 216 multicolored balls that each measure 5 millimeters. More than 4,200 units are being recalled. They were sold there from February 2022 through April 2023 and cost between $14 and $15 according to the recall notice. The Safety Commission said it estimates 2,400 magnet ingestions, 2,400 magnet ingestions were treated in hospital emergency departments from 2017 through 21. The commission knows of 7 deaths involving the ingestion of hazardous magnets, including 2 outside the United States, according to the recall notice. The Safety Commission added the magnetic ball sets do not comply with the requirements of the mandatory federal magnet regulation. We need a magnet regulation because the sets contain 1 or more magnets that fit within CPSC's small parts cylinder, and the magnets are stronger than permitted. Swallowing a magnet is dangerous because they are so high powered they can attract to each other or to another metal object and become lodged in the digestive system, according to the Safety Commission. This can result in perforations, twisting, and or blockages of the intestine, infection, blood poisoning, and death. The magnetic balls are manufactured in, where are they made, folks? In China, and sold through a company called Joybuy. That sounds like a Chinese company, doesn't it? Oh, Joybuy Industries. No one with Joybuy could be immediately reached Thursday afternoon for comment. I bet you they couldn't. I'll make another bet with you, too. They said that there have been 2,400 magnet ingestions treated in hospital emergency departments. I bet you almost none of them are kids. I bet you they're adults, teenagers, or grown-ups being stupid and screwing around with the magnets. Who the hell swallows a damn high-powered magnet? Human beings, because people are freaking stupid. That's why. You've got to have a magnet regulation commission and initiate a recall because stupid people eat freaking magnets and they don't think there could be a problem. Oh, it's a high-powered magnet. I bet if I swallow this, I can stick my pen to my stomach. You deserve to go to the hospital. I mean, I can understand if it's a little kid and they don't know any better, because kids do dumb things, but that's why their parents are supposed to be there watching them instead of looking at TikTok videos all day and ignoring their children. But I'm willing to bet, and it doesn't say in the article, because if it was children, it probably would have said children to make you feel guilty or to make you have sympathy. I'm willing to bet you that it's almost all adults. All people said Walmart is martial law campsites for FEMA. I've heard that theory. And Helter says the package warns you not to swallow them, yet shoppers do not read the warning labels. No, nobody reads warning labels. Are you kidding? Nobody reads warning labels. Of course not. Who does that? Nobody pays attention to that kind of stuff. Dragon says something like this never crossed the parent's mind that it's an obvious choking hazard. Yeah, and again, like I'm telling you, Dragon, I bet you it's almost adults, all adults who did that. Right, Miss Kitty? Hi, baby. Miss Kitty, everybody. There she is. You haven't seen her in a while, I'm sure. Hey, darling, how you doing? There you go. Make yourself comfortable. So now I have Miss Kitty and Dusty, who is still sitting behind me in the corner. But no, it never crossed the parents don't pay attention to their kids, Dragon. Are you kidding me? That's terrible. I know. I'm really cynical about it. I've had too much experience with it. Most parents, not all of them. To be fair, not all of them. Most parents, they don't take care of their kids. They just don't. I'm sorry. All people said this sounds like an SNL rerun that had a parody commercial called Happy Fun Ball. You know what it makes me think of is going way back to the first season, Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd with his he's being interviewed by a reporter, and he's part of some toy manufacturing agency, and she's calling him out for having dangerous toys. And she was like, what about this Halloween costume called Human Fireball? And he was like, yeah, kids, they want to pretend to be a human fireball, And she was like, it's a bag full of oily rags and a lighter. This is safe. Well, come on, you got to read the instructions. You know what I mean? Dan Aykroyd, everybody. Henry says, remember when idiots were putting Tide Pods in their mouth? Yeah. And they were burning themselves with dry ice. And they were taking spoonfuls of what was it? Cinnamon? Spoonfuls of cinnamon. Because it was the cinnamon challenge. And of course, it's too dry. It sucks all the moisture out of your mouth, and then you will start choking. And when you start choking, you could inhale all that cinnamon, and then you can't get oxygen. You could end up going to the hospital doing something stupid like that. And it was started because people were taking the challenge and looking like they were fine. But what they were actually doing was putting a spoonful of brown sugar in their mouth, not cinnamon, because brown sugar looks like cinnamon on a video, but it's moist, so it's not going to dry your mouth out and make you gag. That's how that worked. Oh, wow. That's the state of the world, folks. Swallow magnets. It's the latest thing. There's always some stupid challenge that they're doing, mostly on TikTok, and most young people and old alike are stupid enough to do it, even though they see people getting hurt in the videos. You see a lot of people getting hurt in the videos. And then all people says, dear heaven, OMG. Yeah, you didn't know how that trick worked, huh? I get around. No, I have never taken a mouthful of cinnamon. I would not do that. It's dangerous. And Helter says the idiot challenge train hasn't stopped. Lots of youngsters these days are going around committing crimes and then claiming it's just a prank. And they see all these pranks on TV, or not TV. Nobody watches TV, do they? They see it on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram or wherever the hell they watch their garbage that they waste their time with. And they see people getting hurt and still do it. So it's truly an idiot challenge because they're idiots for trying it. So, I guess 500 other people screwed it up, but you're going to be the one to get it right. That's what's going to happen. All people says, heavens to gracious, why is everyone suddenly so stupid and insane? They've always been that way. It's just with modern technology, it makes it easier to showcase it. We've always had the village idiot. Remember, that was a profession on Monty Python. You vied for the position of village idiot. The only problem is, in reality, the village idiot makes up about 80% of the population. And the people who know what they're doing have to sit there and watch society crumble around them, because you can't tell people anything. You can't tell somebody they're stupid. That's really dumb. Don't do that. Mind your damn business. That's what you're going to get. Right, Miss Kitty? You're going to get people tell you to mind your business? Hello, dear. Miss Kitty, everybody. I know you can't see her anymore. She's still hanging around, still in the room. All of our lovely felines that we take care of. As we shift gears, the stupid news of the day, swallowing magnets. State of the Union. And this has to do with the anchor law. A lot of people aren't aware that this exists. State of the Union talking about a study that says U.S. anchor baby policy ensures easy welfare access for illegal aliens. But I thought illegal aliens couldn't get welfare. Isn't that right? You see articles about it all the time. If you've got a baby, you're guaranteed. Households headed by illegal aliens have a high rate of accessing welfare due to the birthright citizenship policy for the children of illegal immigrants. And we're like one of the few countries in the world that do this. Research shows that almost 60% of such households use welfare, compared to less than 40% for native-born Americans. What that means is you come to the United States pregnant or get pregnant while you're here as an illegal alien, and you give birth, and that child automatically becomes a citizen, or you get pregnant by a U.S. citizen overseas and bring the child here, they are automatically a citizen and they are guaranteed assistance outside of the normal programs that these people are already feeding off of. And what they're telling you is that the research demonstrates that roughly 60% of immigrants who have had a child get anchor citizenship that way are collecting welfare benefits because of that child. Back to the article. This is primarily due to the U.S.-born children of illegal immigrants being eligible for welfare programs at birth. The presence of anchor babies born to illegal immigrant parents allows for easy welfare access, which is roughly what I was saying. The Supreme Court has not explicitly ruled on birthright citizenship for the children of illegal immigrants, and legal scholars have differing opinions. I bet they do. And by the way, you can manipulate that Supreme Court decision with a vacation or a free flight or a loan on an RV or paying off a Supreme Court justice's children's tuition. Just throwing it out there for any of you billionaires who may be watching. Currently, there are about 5.8 million anchor babies in the U.S., costing taxpayers over $150 billion annually. Center for Immigration Studies researchers Stephen Camarota and Karen Ziegler wrote that assistance rates primarily reflect their generally low incomes, coupled with large share who have U.S.-born children who are eligible for all welfare programs from birth. The high use of welfare by illegal immigrant-headed households may seem implausible. Yeah, I believe it. It's not implausible to us. However, there are several things to consider. First, more than half of all illegal immigrant households have one or more U.S.-born children, continued the researchers. The reality is that illegal immigrants are included in the 2022 Survey of Income and Program Participation. A large share of them are poor. Yeah, so much for them coming here and living on the land of milk and honey and finding a job. And they or their U.S.-born children have welfare eligibility, and many take advantage of this eligibility, wrote Camarota and Ziegler. There you go. There you go. So, additional benefits if they come here and they can squeeze a baby out on U.S. soil, which again, most countries don't allow that. You have a baby, that's great. Take them back with you when you leave, is the attitude. They don't just grant citizenship, but you know, the U.S. is so generous. Well, the government is anyways, and at your expense, because that is your tax dollars at work, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, at least this is only $150 billion a year annually, because most of the rest of these programs are costing a lot more. As you recall, excuse me, and we read this yesterday, the federal government, just for medical expenses, schooling, and additional security, are shelling out damn near $500 billion for the current migrants that are in the United States illegally. And that's not counting food, lodging, clothing, vaccinations, legal services, and so on. It's probably damn near $1 trillion. So 150 billion, that's a drop in the bucket. Hell, send that to the Ukraine. They're trying. They're trying to. All people says LBJ's great society. Yeah, it don't feel so great now, does it? Welfare expansion programs have been used for nearly 60 years to lure in black migrants, as the continental slave descendants replaced by black migrants rejected them. Well, they wanted to earn something. They wanted to earn something. They wanted to find their way. And that's commendable. And I don't have anything against someone, again, who is immigrating to this country from anywhere that wants to earn their way. They really want to fit in. They really want to be a citizen. They really want to learn the culture and the rules. They really want to have a job and get a home and raise a family. That's fine. Do it the right way. This is not the right way. Flooding our borders is not doing it the right way. Flooding the borders is an invasion of our country, and you don't need to fire a shot to invade a country. Your presence alone is enough to disrupt things. Your presence alone is enough to tear at the fabric of society. Ask anybody, oh, I'm really going to get in trouble for this. Ask anybody from Europe about gypsies. Anybody ever have to deal with gypsies in Europe? The Europeans hate them. And they undermine the fabric of the society of wherever they are. They do. I'm sorry. Maybe there's a gypsy watching. I doubt it. But maybe there's a gypsy watching somewhere that's like, I'm not part of that. Oh, good for you. Most of the rest of them are not. My wife was stationed in Italy. Remember, my wife is 21 years military, emergency field medic, deployed a few times, and 82nd Airborne. And she spent some time in Italy, and they warned her about it. It's one of the first things they discussed. Stay away from them. Stay away from the gypsy population. If you rent or purchase a car, never lock the doors and do not keep anything valuable in your vehicle. It will be broken into. They'll smash out your windows, and it will be the gypsies who do it. Anyone deployed overseas ever had to deal with that crap? Chime in, please. Dragon says Ramaswamy's father was not born here and his mother got citizenship after he was born. He's the very definition of an anchor baby. Yeah, but he actually did something with himself. A lot of these people are like career welfare recipients. That's which is what the article was suggesting by saying that 60% of the anchor baby families in the United States are getting welfare benefits. You stayed in the US because you had a kid here. Did you take advantage of the system, or did you work with the system so that you could be a useful member of society? You see what I mean? That's the difference, and it's a huge difference, and it matters, especially nowadays where we're being taxed to death. We're being crushed. Our taxes are being wasted. It is absolutely taxation without representation. We have no control over how the money is being spent. And it just doesn't stop because they don't care. They're not spending their money. They're spending ours. That's your money. That's my money. And it's not just the United States. It's every Western nation. This is happening. It's just in the United States. It looks bigger because we are bigger. And we're dealing with a lot more in regard to this than, say, the UK or France or Italy or Canada, simply because of the population and the amount of money that's involved. But all these countries are suffering. All of them. And with that, I'll go ahead and start rounding things off. Again, this is Coffee Talk, or at Coffee Talk Live on YouTube, as well as Prepper University on YouTube, and at Coffee Talk Chat on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Fistful of Radio, fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon. And again, apologies for the late start today. Had to deal with repairman from the alarm company that put me way behind schedule, but do my best to try to meet my obligations. And so here I am. Hope everybody got something out of the conversation. Thanks for joining us here today. Much appreciated, everybody who was able to pop in. And I will catch you again on Monday.